in the chat. Got it. Make sure I can. Once this YouTube goes live, I can shut this. So one sec. Redirecting to YouTube. In the chat. And goodbye to you. All right. We're here, you guys. All my stressful tech shit is done. Woo! Welcome. Let me get in here to the chat. Make sure we can all talk. All right. Yay. Hi, people. Hi. I'm going to do all our attendees. Hello. Come on in. Me? No. Show chat. I want to see what you guys are saying. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. We are here. I need to figure out how to look at the chat, though, Tracy. You're going to have to help me. All right, that part is done. All right. Official. Welcome to Boundary Palooza live, because we are live. So this is workshop 1 of the 3 that we are doing this week. Today's topic is why boundaries, why now? I'm so pumped that you guys are here with me live. Hello. So tell me where you're coming in from. Shouting out to all of you guys. Come on in. Yay. If you have questions as we go, you want to put, if you can, a bunch of question marks in front, because there's going to be a lot of interaction in this workshop. And for my team to grab your questions, they need to see your questions, which is how they're going to do it. All right. Oh, there it is. Hi, Nancy from Vero Beach. Mexico's in the house, all the way from the Netherlands. Woo! Now I see you guys. Sorry, I don't know why it was so hard to get it together. Montana. Ooh, Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome. Austin, Texas, Scotland, Bulgaria, Germany. Wow. Hi, New York City. What's up? Portugal, California, Belgium, Maryland, Texas. You guys, everyone from everywhere is here right now. It's pretty exciting. And I want to say, I'm super psyched and want to give you guys credit for showing up live, right? You want to do something different. You want to learn something. You want to increase your boundary IQ. And a lot of people say they want to do that, but they don't do it, right? They don't actually take advantage of this. Is free training that we're doing for the next 3 days, but you're here actually doing it, learning how to know and assert your boundaries better than you are doing it right now. To really, what does it create? More joy in your life to be able to do it. So I'm just psyched that you're here. And for those of you who couldn't be here live, but you're watching this after the fact, hey, maybe it's 3 a.m. where you live, right? Or you had something else that you had to do. I'm super psyched that you're going to carve out the time in your life to watch the recording. So what is Boundary Palooza? That's what we're here to do. It's 3 workshops over 3 days, basically designed to raise your boundary IQ so that you can increase the satisfaction in your relationships, improve your communication skills, and just be more empowered overall. So in this session today, we're talking about why boundaries, why now? Tomorrow, it's emotional boundaries. The struggle is real, because it is. And the 3rd day is boundary scripts and self-care, because actually doing it and self-care go together. So a couple of housekeeping things I want to tell you guys. You're going to visit Boundary Palooza HQ. So we have like a headquarters for all the information. It's just terricole.com/HQ. Someone on my team can put it in the chat. So this is the page where you're going to find all the dates, all the times, along with the links that you need. You can get text message reminders if you want to from us. You can download the beautiful workbook that we created for you and a beautiful meditation that I created for you. And you can also watch all of the recordings at Boundary Palooza HQ. So again, don't sweat it. You know, we're going to email you after this. The link will be in there, but it's terricole.com/HQ. Now, the workbook is amazing. Don't worry about it, though, if you don't have it in front of you right now, because we're going to be doing a bunch of interactive learning today together. You can get that at HQ as well, or just go to terricole.com/workbook. And that's something that you can work on online, so it works virtually, or if you're old school and you don't mind killing a tree or two, you can print it out. But I'd say maybe just do it virtually. That would be fine. There is a boundary setting intention. There is a boundary setting intention section, right? Plus a quick boundary assessment in the workbook, which you're not going to do with those things now. But that's stuff that there's going to be definitely work for you to do. And there's also exercises that go along with each session. So it's a pretty full blown experience, is what I say, which is what we always want to create for you. And if you don't have the workbook right now, don't sweat it, right? We're not going to worry about it because you're here now. You have me. That's going to be better than the workbook. And you paying attention, like meaning allowing yourself to be present for what we're actually doing in the learning part is super important to what you're going to experience, right? So you're going to have the the workbook forever, but be here now if you can, because really your presence is probably more powerful than that. And what does David G., my mentor and friend, say? We transform the world by transforming ourselves. And I will include an up-leveling our boundary skill set to that, right? So the more people on this healing path, the better. So just know that I really appreciate you being here. Today, I'm going to teach for about 35 to 40 minutes. Then I'll be taking your questions. So do me a favor, if you have one throughout. I see that Mrs. E. Wilson already did it. Put a couple, like 5 question marks, if you can, 4 or 5 in front of it so that the team can actually see it. Because again, there's going to be a lot of participation in today's session, in all the sessions, because this is what helps us learn the best. So just know I'm so pumped that you are here for session 1 of Boundary Palooza. Why boundaries? Why now? So without further ado, let's do a quick grounding. If you have something that smells good, now would be a good time to grab it. Take a deep breath. Uncross your legs if your legs are crossed. I mean, obviously don't do this if you're driving or something, but if you can, put your hands up on your lap in a receiving sort of position. We're just going to do a quick grounding. I just want you to breathe, gently close your eyes, and just drop your attention inward. We're just going to do a physical check. Like, how are you doing physically? So let's do a quick body scan, starting at the top of your head, just slowly moving down. And if there's any part of your body that needs your attention, maybe your neck is tight, mine is, you can roll your neck around and take a deep breath into that spot and visualize that constriction, wherever you feel that tension, is blowing up into a million pieces and just leaving your body gently with your exhalation. Just continue scanning until you've gone from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. We're breathing deeply in through your nose and out through your nose. With every inhalation, imagine that you are inhaling the peaceful, positive energy that's all around you. And with every exhalation, imagine that you're releasing anything that no longer serves your greatest good, or maybe never did serve your greatest good. I want you to come to this session with an open heart and an open mind, which is a beginner's mind. So just take a moment, set your intention for our session together today. Mine is going to be always the same, that something happens that creates an aha moment for you that ultimately increases your joy and lessens your suffering. And now let's take one last deep breath together on the count of 3. And if you can, you're going to exhale audibly with a sigh. 1, 2, 3. Ah. All right. Gently open your eyes. Come on back. This is something that I feel like in our society today and what we do, like taking this moment for yourself today, actually prioritizing what you want and what you're looking for. This is something you should like pat yourself on the back for doing it, because so much of the time we're like, yeah, I'm gonna, but then we don't. Then we actually just don't do it. So all I'm saying is that in the last 25 years, I've helped, feels like hundreds of thousands of people, maybe not that much, but clients, to really raise their boundary IQ. And it's unbelievable how it will positively impact every single area of your life. So let's start by, I'm going to ask you a couple of powerful questions. You can have your eyes open or your eyes closed. And I would love for you to share in the chat your answers. So the first one is, do you ever wait too long to have a boundary conversation? And then when the time happens, you explode. Someone wrote always. Literally, I wasn't even done. Always, just always in caps. Right? You explode rather than being able to sort of approach it like regular, normal person, right? Because what happens in that scenario is we're just letting the resentment, the irritation is just building and building and building. And then there's one thing that just, we hit a tipping point. It becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back. And there we go. So look at how many people are saying, a lot of you are saying yes, yes, yes. Some are saying sometimes, a lot of times that may happen with one person in particular more than other people, right? If you have someone who pushes your buttons, if you have a bit of a boundary bully, they may inspire an explosion in you. And the next question is, are you as confident and self-assured as you hoped you would be at this point in your life around effective communication, around setting boundaries, limits, saying no, saying yes, saying what you want? And a lot of people are saying no, 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 no. Yep. Yep. Nope. LOL, no. Some people are saying yes, but I have to say the majority, probably 95% of people, are saying that they'd like to be more, right? They'd like to be more self-confident, be able to assert themselves with greater ease, with greater grace, because that's really what we're talking about. It's really not about dominating other people, right? It's that we just want to be known. We just want to be seen. We just want to be heard in our lives. And this whole skill set, of course, is that opens the door to that actually happening. So last question for you. We're going to say on a scale of 1 to 5, if 1 is a boundary disaster and 5 is a boundary boss or a boundary master, where do you think you are? 1 is a boundary disaster. 5 is a boundary master. All right. We have a lot of 2s. We have some 1s. Yep. All right. We have some 3s. Excellent. We have some 4s. We have a lot of 1s. We have a lot of 2s. All right, you guys. And you can see, if you're looking down the chat, you can see what people are saying. All right. So this is to sort of put us on, bringing it to your mind where you are right now in your boundary skills journey. And what's brought so much of this to the forefront, you guys, is we've spent the last 3 years, post-pandemic, if that's what we're calling what we're doing now, and beyond, right? 3 years of lots and lots and lots of shit changing, our routines being messed up, people getting sick, some people dying. Like, there was so much that happened. And so many of my therapy clients and me, myself, there's things that last from that, like lingering anxiety, uncertainty, emotional exhaustion, grief, loss. These are things that we had to deal with. And yet it's an opportunity. And I just want to talk about it quickly because I think it's really important. Like, did you ever stop and think, what did you learn about yourself, about your life, about your relationships during this time? Right. Recently, one of my private clients was facing an issue. She said that over the pandemic, she and her wife went somewhere else. They were staying, I think, at her cousin's place. So she wasn't in her regular hometown. But one of her friends sort of fell off the grid. This is a long-term friend, someone she'd been friends with for a long time, fell off the grid. And then now that it's post-pandemic, this friend like wants to come back into the fray, even though she sort of ghosted my client during the pandemic. And my client had a realization that she didn't miss this friend at all. And that it really was more of a friendship out of obligation, or historical handcuffs, as I call them, where you just feel like it's been so long. You know what I mean? And she was in the conundrum of, what do I do? Right? Do I just go back to business as usual? Is the question. Right? And so what I told my client was that this experience is an opportunity for clarity, right? If that is your truth, meaning you really don't miss this person, you don't have to be mad at them to decide you don't want to spend a ton of bandwidth on someone who you've outgrown the relationship. You know? Yeah, Carrie said, I learned that some people would rather cut you out of their life than respect your boundaries. Oh, that's a fact. Don't worry, we're going to be getting to that later. That's a fact. So anyway, with my client, I helped walk her through the truth that, first of all, you have to get proactive with your boundaries. So instead of just waiting to see what the other person is going to do, right? But we had to establish that she had a right to decide who gets to be in the VIP section of her life. Like, that is her decision, and only she can make that decision, right? The friend can't. The friend wanted to come back in, but my client really didn't want that. So part of it is we weren't going to be blaming the friend, right? She did what she did. The realization was about my clients, and realizing that relationships are voluntary. If we're not talking about minor children, every relationship in your life, from friend, romantic partner, family members, they're voluntary. So you don't have to stay in a relationship with someone that no longer resonates with you, right? You have a right to end or modify any relationship. So we get to decide. Yes, even if it's family, Diana, if they're toxic, if they're unhealthy. And here's the thing, I'm not advocating for like, oh my God, cut off all the annoying people. I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying we need to cut off everyone. But I am saying that it is your job to decide how much access people get to you. And don't worry, I'm going to be walking you through an exercise, right? When I'm done with this, we're going to be moving into 2 exercises that we're doing live together, which I think will help you get some clarity, you know? But again, the responsibility is on us, right? But I really see what happened during the pandemic, and now it's still lingering. It's like this upset in our natural sort of rhythm is a gift, right? That the disruption in the established norms that we experienced, many of us, for many years. But it's only a gift if you open it, right? And it's only a gift if you use what you learned about yourself, about how you really feel, to make the changes. And that includes honest conversations, healthy boundaries, setting limits, and all of that. So what have you guys been feeling? Like, what are you feeling right now from the last 3 years? Is there lingering anything for you? Someone says anxious. I see you. Fear and mistrust, like it's impossible. Excitement and fear, resentment, exhaustion, confusion, rejection, disorientation. Yes. Anxiety in caps. Yep. Can't deal with the toxic family anymore. Lonely, anxiety. Yes. And this is all of us, you guys. You see that we're all having this experience. And so much of this really led to people feeling just completely exhausted, isolated, uncertain. Mommy burnout, Liz says. Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing with burnout. There was so much bandwidth that we were expending on the unknown during those 3 years, during that time, trying to create a new normal when everything kept changing. That, I mean, I myself experienced burnout, right? I mean, I did a post recently that the burnout pandemic might actually be a bad boundary pandemic. You know, like part of why it was so exhausting was because we were dealing with so much stuff and we didn't have the skills to set boundaries. Many of us in our own homes, if you had kids at home and trying to share the friggin' internet and who's doing what. You know, I saw this with my therapy clients where you had couples who spent, 2 hours a day together for years. And now suddenly you're spending 24/7. This was something. And then the burnout for exactly, Janet said, especially for healthcare professionals. Now let's look at the burnout for the frontline people who were putting themselves in danger every single day. Remember, it's so easy for us to forget before there was a vaccine and what it was all like when we had, it was like the Wild West of total fear, at least for me. My mother was going through cancer treatments. It was just hell, the entire thing. So how do boundaries help us, right? This is where we need them most, is when we are in a situation where we're bleeding bandwidth, which is what was happening then. So let's talk quickly before we get into, we're going to take a couple of inventories together today, but I want to just get on the same page because maybe some of you are new to this. I know some of you are the OGs because I know you. But I just want to give you my definition of boundaries so that we are all coming from the same idea. So I want you to think about your boundaries as your own personal rules of engagement. This lets other people know what's okay with you and what's not okay with you. So what are your boundaries made up of? To have healthy boundaries, you have to know your own preferences, your own limits, desires, and deal breakers. And not just know them, which is already a problem for most people. Preferences, limits, deal breakers. You have to be able to communicate them transparently when you so choose. Oh yeah, Janet, I will. Don't worry. So speaking of boundaries and going back to the story of the client, is that we came up with a proactive boundary for her to set. Rather than waiting for the friend to get in touch with her again, she got in touch with her and said, hey, and she and her partner moved to another place. So they're now, she's not even living near that friend. And we came up with the right thing for her to write. I helped her script it, which was basically saying, hey, I'm basically paring down my social life kind of nicely. I love you, but I feel like I've outgrown the friendship. I wish you well. We're now going to be living over here near Seattle. And that was basically it. Because she was like, I want to come visit you. And she was like, I love you. And I've loved the friendship we've shared, but I don't feel that way going forward. And of course the friend was hurt. And yet she said, I appreciate you telling me the truth. And the friend knew it. The friend was like, I know I was MIA for 2.5 years. She was, and hadn't gotten back to my client. My client had reached her and she completely ghosted her. So, it's not like you're dealing with a friend who didn't have some skin in the game of creating the resentment that my client was experiencing. She's like, why am I working on a relationship I don't even want to have? So anyway, that was the end of the story, Janet. Just some thank you for reminding me to go back to it. Right. So back to the boundary thing. This is basically letting people know what we need, what we want, what we like, what we don't. And for some reason, that for many of us, that is incredibly hard. And I think we have to get into the mindset, you guys, that you have a choice. My client had a choice. Even though she felt obligated to that friendship, she had a choice and she took it. And her life is better for it. Right? When you think about where we've come as a society, there is no better time than right now to strengthen your boundary skill set to create what it is that you want. There's reasons you don't know how to do this, and that there were so many ones and twos before when I asked you how close you were to a boundary disaster. And nobody taught you this. I'm telling you, I know this for a fact because I've been teaching this for years. Wrote a whole friggin' book on it, right? Have courses on it because we were taught to be good girls and good boys, right? What did you hear in childhood? Turn that frown around. Where's my happy girl? If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So it's don't rock the boat. Exactly, Abigail. So this is, yes, be seen and not heard. That's correct, Carrie. Yeah. It's so the opposite of having boundaries. So if you don't have boundaries, you were trained not to. So this training that we're doing for these 3 days, and the course itself, also Boundary Bootcamp course itself starts on the 24th. This is how you learn it, because you're not learning it from anywhere else, So question from Scarlett: why did you fall in love with boundaries? What's your story to discovering them, or have always been a boundary boss? Oh my God, dude, no. Of course, Scarlett, I love that you think I might always have been a boundary boss, but hell no, dude, I was a boundary disaster. So it's my own life pain around not knowing shit about boundaries is what made me become what I am now. Not knowing, being in so much pain, being so resentful. I was such a blamer too. I was like, my boss is a dick. This person's a jerk. This one's selfish. This one's entitled. Like, I didn't understand what my own resentment was about. I really swear to God, you guys, I thought it was other people. I literally thought it was them, which is, it's a little bit not funny, haha, but I really did. And it was through the therapeutic process of looking in and realizing I keep being like, Betty's so entitled. And my therapist was like, is Betty entitled, or are you just not setting boundaries? And I was like, what? Is there something I could do? Right? Is there something that I could do differently? And she was like, of course you can. And why don't we do it? And why didn't I do it? Because of fear, right? Fear of, when you think about what are the biggest things as human beings that we fear? Fear of success, fear of failure. These are two sides of the same coin. That coin, fear of change. That's it. And it's normal, right? It's normal for us to have that fear. But we have to think about, like, the fear doesn't mean abort the mission to learn these skills. It really doesn't. It means this is something that's important. Because on the other side of that fear, getting through, yes, exactly, fear of conflict, hurting others, fear of abandonment, right? Fear of the unknown. That was one of my biggest ones, is fear of the unknown. Yeah. Someone said, I feel like I'm unloving if I have boundaries. Here's the thing. It's really, really loving, actually. But fear of rejection is probably the number one. Fear of rejection and fear of conflict. And Ray said fear of violent responses. Now, that's different. If you're dealing with a situation where people are violent, then you have to really protect yourself. And, a lot of what we talk about here does not apply in that situation. Protecting yourself, yes, that does apply. So your physical safety, of course, has to be the most important thing. When you start setting boundaries, though, what changes is you do, right? You change, because what you are asserting in the world when you start is you are saying, I matter. What I think matters. How I feel matters. And here's the thing. What you think, how you feel, what you want needs to matter to you more than what anybody else thinks, feels, and wants. That makes sense? Like, actually more than everyone. You have to value that the most. And it doesn't mean we don't compromise with others. Of course we do if we have long-term relationships. But if we don't prioritize and even know how we feel, we end up prioritizing the crap out of all the other people in our life for approval because of people pleasing, all of this stuff. And we end up bitter, right? It's not, people pleasing is unpleasing to the person who's doing it, and people sense that. When you are saying yes, when you really want to say no, your healthy friends know it, right? You feel that. Oprah says, you have to take responsibility for the energy that you bring into what you leave in a room. And when you have disordered boundaries, the energy that you are leaving in your relationships and in a room is so conflicted. It's confusing, right? We have to take responsibility for how we interact with people in the world and in our lives. And when we have disordered boundaries, it's like we're wanting someone else to take responsibility for us, but we have to be the ones, right? That famous, I think it's a Rumi quote, we are the ones we've been waiting for. And I remember the first time I heard that in a guided meditation from David G., my teacher, I literally started bawling my eyes out because I knew it was true. I knew it was true. Ariel said, oh my God, I'm totally doing this. And I didn't realize until just now, well, this is amazing. This is what the point is, right? Is that we're having aha moments because you have to know it to change it. So I want to move into the first exercise that we are doing, which is you're going to answer this question, and you can share it down the side. And all of this is in the workbook, so you don't worry about it. We're going to talk about what you are tolerating right now, because this is going to help us, right, get to where we're going. So right now, just take a deep breath, and I want you to think about, what are you tolerating? Rude behavior, being ignored, tolerating my students all day, fake friends, disrespect, abuse elder father, poor treatment, silent treatment. Yes. Rude family. Yeah, because here's the thing, as humans, women in particular, we've learned to tolerate a lot. We tend to take on, accept, deal with, get weighed down by other people's situations, behavior, unfulfilled needs, boundary violations, frustrations, issues, and even our own self-sabotaging behavior, right? Which pertains to internal boundaries. And although you might make it look easy, like you're doing all the things for all the people, it really does take a toll. Being the brunt of a joke, not funny. It's not funny. It's just hostile when someone does that, as we know. So I see, if you guys are looking in the chat, you can see, it can be anything: disrespect, non-reciprocation. It could be unbalanced workload, shared at home. Maybe you're doing all the emotional labor in your house and all the chores. Maybe you're tolerating your own lack of self-consideration, right? People not replying to me when I speak, narcissistic guy. Yeah. Maybe you're tolerating self-medicating. Maybe you're drinking 2 big glasses of wine a night to deal with how you feel, but you're still tolerating that, and that still takes a tone. My own lack of speaking up, fear of conflict, not being understood, verbal attacks, my partner's family comments on my weight. Ugh, look at them. Makes me so mad. People dumping their problems on me, victim mentality, being silent. Listen, you guys, take a look in the chat right now. You are not alone. What you are experiencing, these are hundreds of people from all over the world are also experiencing. So just know, because so much of the time when we do this work or try to decode this type of evolutionary work, it feels like we're alone. And we're not necessarily in groups of people in real life, but here, you're not alone, right? We're all in this together. So what does it mean, right? Like, what does it look like? What does it mean to have boundaries around what you're tolerating? It means changing something, right? It means the whole point of you thinking about this, and the whole tolerating thing is an actual exercise in the workbook that you're going to do on your own. But it means you have to change something. And we're going to get to that. But I wanted you to really think about it, because here's the thing. We need to know what we're tolerating and what we're resentful of to use as a GPS to get where we're going, right? We need to know what needs our attention, because it can be so overwhelming when you think about boundaries, like overall boundaries. When we talk about it, it just seems like this major thing. And here's the thing, you guys. One thing I really want this to land with you. You are not this fragile. You're not fragile, right? You are so much more durable than you think. And so allow that, believe that, feel that. You've survived 100% of the shit you've been through, all of it, because here you are writing in the chat. So tap into that part of yourself and know that you're not alone, and you can learn to do this, but you also deserve what's on the other side of having healthier boundaries. That's what you deserve, which is a much happier life, much less suffering, much more joy and authenticity and talking true and being known and being seen. So I understand that it can feel intimidating, but I want you to remember you are not fragile. All right, so I want you to do this one with me. So we're going to take a quick resentment inventory right now. So we're going to take an inventory and you're going to share where you might be harboring resentment in your relationships, right? Because this is going to provide a snapshot of where your need is not getting met, right? It could also be where a boundary needs to be established. Maybe you haven't established one yet, or where a boundary is being violated. So I want you to pick one person right now. You're going to think about who is that person where the interaction left you pissed off, where whatever it is, you're already telling me, my mother, sibling, husband, ex, sister, younger brother, BFF, my spouse, mom, daughter, everyone, right? It could literally be anyone. So now that's the interaction that left you frustrated, angry, upset. And you're going to say, what was the frustration? So I'll give you an example and then you're going to do it yourself. What was the frustration? Let's say I was telling somebody a story and she interrupted me when I was telling her something important. So that was the frustration. What was the feeling? My feeling would have been angry, hurt, unimportant. And what is the underlying need? To feel understood, heard, valued, important. So you're going to think about what was the frustration and share it. She won't listen to my simple request when caring for my child. Well, interrupts everything I say every time. Oh my God, that's so frustrating. Not keeping his promises, doesn't listen, won't respond. Daughter telling me what I need. Daughter telling me what I need is a life coach. Great. Not being heard ever. Julia, that's so frustrating. So what is the feeling attached to that frustration, you guys? So the feeling is what? Not being heard ever. Jewel, what is the feeling that goes along with that? Invisible, unimportant, rejected, not valued, used. What the fuck? Someone said was their feeling. Manipulated, total frustration, anger, not valued, patronized. Oh God, I hate that. Yes. Gaslit. Okay. And then what is the underlying need? Like what is the underlying need? So in my example of my friend cutting me off in the middle of an important thing, yes, you guys got it. To be heard, to be important, to be valued, to be seen, respect, mutual care. Yes, to be understood, respected, feel like a real person, validated, supported, loved. Yes, to be autonomous, forgiveness, love. Yes. Yes, to be supported. So you guys, the whole thing with your resentment inventory and what you're going to use it for as we continue during Boundary Palooza is the resentment shows you where you need a boundary. That's it. So this is basically becoming a GPS to like what relationships need your attention. What is causing you stress in your life? So in session 3, we're going to be going over some of the scripts that you can use to handle where the resentment inventory people that you need to. Because here's the thing, healthy boundaries are the antidote to resentment. Even if the person doesn't do what you want, right? I want us to be really clear that us setting boundaries isn't like a lever of control over others. Our healing comes from asserting ourselves. So it's not about necessarily getting them to do what we want them to do. It's giving them an opportunity to, sure, but it's you, because you will change. You thinking that how you feel, what you think of what you want matters, will change who you attract in your life, how you interact with them, how you interact with the people who are in your life right now. That's one of the biggest internal boundaries, is how you relate to yourself, right? Do you think you're valuable? You are, I promise you. Trust me, I have the answer to that, but you need to think it. Mariana asks, what is the difference of being needy versus asking for boundaries? Well, here's the thing. Asserting boundaries that are yours to assert, right? We wouldn't say asking for, we'd say asserting them. That's not being needy. That's you getting your needs met by letting the other person know what you need. Again, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to do it, right? So I feel like if it's on your side of the street, then you have a right to make a simple request of someone to change something. And again, that doesn't mean they're going to do it, but I feel like you should. Okay, so someone said, can you offer support with text message boundaries? So text messaging and boundaries. People purposefully not responding, not because they're busy, they just choose to not reply to you, texting you super late at night. Well, one thing, Alexa, that you can do there is that I just turn my phone off. So there's that, like at night, unless you have teenage kids. If my kids were teenagers, I wouldn't, but because you never freaking know what's going to happen then. But also letting people know. I tell people on my away message, any away message, it basically says, don't call me, right? I don't want people calling me. So clarity. One thing is clarity on when people, you don't want them calling you, right? So you can say, my phone is off, but here's the thing. If you actually turn your phone off after 8 p.m., let's say, or whatever, then it doesn't matter when they call because it's not going to interrupt you. If you're bothered and it's someone who's close enough to you, Alexa, about their etiquette text-wise, then you can say something. Hey, I've noticed that when I text you, sometimes it takes a really long time for you to get back. I'm trying not to read anything into that. Would you prefer a different way of communicating? Would you rather I call? Would you rather talk once a week instead of texting during the week or whatever? Like there's problem solving that you can do in that way as well, because some people just don't like texting. You know what I mean? So, all right. I'm glad that was helpful, Alexa. All right. So moving into Q&A. Lynn asked, now this may be my boundary violation. I'm not sure. Increasingly, I've been, this is a very similar question to what I just answered, about people just not getting back, right? Like taking their time. And of course, we all have the friends that take their time to get back to you, but when they need something, they expect an instant answer from you. You know those friends? And I'm all like, no. I feel like nobody has a right, unless we're talking about minor children, to expect an instantaneous answer. And it may be your expectation of how quickly you think that they should get back. But it's much easier for people to be rude over text than it is for them to do it in real life. You know what I mean? Most people who would act that way probably would not do it in real life. Okay, Sarah says, in your book, you talk about the VIP section. Can you speak a little bit about boundaries with the VIP section? Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I make a distinction about the people in your life, the important people who you really love and who are emotionally trustworthy, that they should be in the VIP section of your life. But a lot of times we have other people in the VIP section of our life because we don't realize that we are the bouncer, we made the guest list, and we have to put up that velvet rope ourselves, right? We're almost looking for other people to do it as well. So boundaries with your VIPs, if you have already cleaned out the VIP section, meaning the people who have most access to you are people who are trustworthy, then boundaries with them shouldn't be that hard. If you're talking about setting boundaries to get people out of your VIP section, you've got to start stepping back, right? So it's like not instantly responding to people, creating more distance with those that you don't want to have this very active relationship with. So that's the beginning, right? All right, can we apply this resentment inventory and setting boundaries to relationships that are already ended? If I'm holding on to what they did, RE trauma, will this help me even if I do not reach out to share with the unhealthy person? Like, since it's about inner healing, does it really matter if we reach out to the other person? Would it still be healing just to spell out boundaries during a sitting meditation with the energy of this person? I think it would still be healing. And especially if it was someone who traumatized you, I wouldn't necessarily want you to, you know what I mean, get in touch with them if they were like an unsafe person, but it will be helpful to you because what you were really doing in that exercise is identifying our frustrations, our feelings, the real feelings, not just the pissed off feelings, and the need, like what need is going unmet. And the only way we can establish healthy boundaries is to understand what we're needing right now, what's not working. Session 2. All right, here we go. Can you offer some tips on diffusing the buttons other people push so I can practice better emotional self-regulation? I find that when my buttons are pushed, everything I've learned goes out the window. Yes, we're actually in session 2. So tomorrow, we're going to be covering emotional boundaries. So I'm actually going to be covering this tomorrow. But I would say part of it is realizing that the person who's pushing your button now is probably not the original injury person, right? So there's something powerful about sort of going back to the scene of the crime and realizing that when we get activated, Dr. Shafali, one of my girlfriends, talks about the fact that our triggers are within all of us, right? They reside within us based on our lived experiences. So it's easy to want to look out at the other person. And even if they've done shitty things, you know what I mean? But our own triggers, exactly what you said, are about us understanding our lived experiences that made us sensitive to those experiences and then moving into better emotional self-regulation, somatic work. I mean, there's so many things that we can do around this. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up. We will handle that more tomorrow. Yeah. All right. When others judges my limit, I doubt myself, I freeze. How do I maintain my confidence that my limit is legitimate? Well, I think part of it is you've got to get it within yourself before you have the conversations. You've got to understand that your boundary preferences, limits, deal breakers, they are unique to you based on your lived experience, your family of origin, your culture, all of those things. And that the people in your life, they don't have to understand exactly why you are the way you are, but they need to respect the way you feel. So if you say, that's a limit for me, or I'm not doing that, and the person wants to debate it, you can say, hey, I'm not seeking your input. I'm not looking for your opinion. I love you. I'm telling you how it already is for me. Like the barn door is open, the horses are already out. Like it's almost like shutting the barn door after the horses are out when someone's like, well, I don't think you should need that. Well, too late, I do. So again, it really is the self-knowledge that has everything to do with being able to establish. And in the course itself, we do a huge deep dive into you understanding right now in your life what is okay and what is not okay. And you need to do that before we can go out and do all the other things with boundaries. Okay, so Namjai asked how to shift our own expectation and honor others' boundaries. It feels so hard sometimes. Yes, it is hard, especially if you've been a people pleaser. So part of it is we have to really think about and journal about and write about and get that other people have a right to their own preferences, limits, and deal breakers, just like you do. And respecting that, sometimes we can just go, okay, I'm not going to say anything. Like, especially in the beginning, if you're just learning, it's not personal, really. And if it is personal, then it's not them asserting a boundary. Like if they're saying something to hurt your feelings or they're doing something that's inappropriate, that's not a boundary. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Jamie asked, you mentioned Boundary Bootcamp. Are you teaching it this year? Yes, I'm teaching it this year. We start on May 24th. And really all of Boundary Palooza and Boundary Bootcamp season leads up to the launching of the course itself. So we start on the 24th of May. And actually, I only teach this live once a year. So, and I'm so happy I still can, because it's one of my favorite experiences is to be with you weekly. It's awesome. So May 24th, you can get all the info if you're interested in that at terricole.com/BB 2023. Rita says, Boundary Bootcamp was life-changing for me, smiley face. Aw, thanks, Rita. Sure. I love giving you guys this time, Margaret. It makes me so happy. All right, Emily said, how do I set a boundary with my new boyfriend who's just moved in and doesn't yet pay anything towards rent or bills? I also find I pay for much more if we go out, and he also earns much more money than I do. I don't want to seem money-oriented, but I'm really struggling, can't afford, and I feel like it's not fair, and I'm starting to feel resentment. Okay, so the real question, Em, is why did you end up in this situation? Why did you end up in a situation with a guy? And someone else is saying, same, Emily, in the chat. Why did you end up with a partner who thinks that you should do more, even though they make more? There is an entitlement to that I do not like at all. And I think that you have to have the conversation. You just have to do it. You just have to say, hey, I want to sit down when you can and talk about the whole home finance stuff, because we need to start splitting things. And, now that you're in, let's figure out how we're going to divvy it up. Have an expectation that he's going to be fine with it, or they're going to be fine with it. That's it. Like, you have to do it, because of course you're resentful. Hello? Yeah. All right. Do you have to be totally honest when you reply? Is it okay to ignore or tell a white lie to save hurt feelings for the other person? Are we talking about when the friendship breakup conversation? Kelly, is that what you're talking about? Because here's the thing with white lies, Okay. I'm not a believer in, some people love to like say, I'm just being honest, and they're really using that phrase as like to beat you in the face with, people like that. I don't believe in that kind of honesty myself. I don't think we should also be endlessly omitting and lying. Exactly, Lisa. Kind honesty. If something is, you're done with the friendship, you don't have to build a case against the person to their face. You don't have to say you're flaky. You don't have to say, yeah, it's like you can set the new boundaries, which means you're not necessarily not wanting to be in a friendship with them, without being like it's you're the reason, you're the problem. It's all because of you. And I feel like when we're unsure of what we're doing, we feel compelled to build a case. It's like we're like a defense attorney, and you don't have to do that. And I don't think it's necessary. So I think I answered that. All right. Moving into the last question for today from Jacqueline. What's the difference between not taking things personally and boundaries? Well, they're different, right? Because those two things aren't even like respecting someone's boundaries is not making it personal about you. So those things are connected. And it's something that you got to work on, right? Because sometimes it's hard. If you've been a people pleaser, as I was saying before, that it's hard to handle someone saying no, especially if you never give yourself permission to say no to others, right? So, yeah. Okay. All right. There were so many amazing questions that I'm going to do an Instagram live, grab some of these. So before the end of today, I'm going to do an Instagram live and I will grab some of these questions that we didn't get to because they're so juicy and I will answer it over there. And in the meantime, yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this first workshop. I hope that you're going to come back tomorrow. I hope that this added value to your life and you understand why, I chose this topic to start us off. Remember, you are not alone and you are not at all fragile. Like you can learn this. You can do this. I am here teaching you and cheering you on, and you deserve what's on the other side of a healthy boundary skill set. You deserve the life that creates. You do not deserve to be doing more than your share and feeling unimportant. You really don't. So I want you to take the time, make sure that you do the what are you tolerating exercise, do the resentment inventory in the workbook, and then go ahead and share your answers with me right there in the comment area under the replay in terricole.hq. And please put in any aha moments, questions, comments that you want me to read, because I will read them all. And listen, if you guys feel like there's people in your life that this could help, you want to share on social media, use the hashtag BB2023 or Boundary Palooza hashtag, because that will help me find your posts about this. Because I say the more the merrier, The next live is happening tomorrow at 12 Eastern, same time, same place. And I will be sending out an email reminder. You can also sign up for text message reminders at terricole.com/HQ. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about emotional boundaries. The struggle is real. That's the actual name. So let me look at my schedule today to see when can I go live on. Hold on. I believe I can do it this afternoon. 1 second. We're going to go live today. It's going to be later in the afternoon, probably around 5. So why don't we just say that 5 o'clock? So then at least I can pick that time. Content 3 to 4, because then I have someone 4 to 5. Yep. I'm going to go live at 5. So you guys know today, and I'll answer some of the other really great questions that you had. So join me on Instagram, people, and I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, go to terricole.com/HQ and start working in our workbook that we made for you. And I'll see you there. Yay. See you 5 o'clock today as well.